Is it to live like in a way which is like self-sustaining, peaceful, and happy, or is it to explore the stars,
Always
develop
going
new
forward.
technology, move forward and progress,
So we can't
or
find
and be
reverse.
unhappy?
Welcome to Trekkie Tuesdays, where we discuss this side of paradise.
It actually doesn't suck. It brings up some interesting ideas and is
Very provocative, yes. So this episode sees the Enterprise coming in what seems to be a habit with them to the site where humans were in the past, but it's not a rescue mission because they've waited way too long for it to be a rescue mission. So they're confident that everybody there is long dead. They land on this planet. Kirk starts waxing poetic about how tragic it is that everybody is dead. And then these people show up and say, We're not
dead.
dead.
Not dead. We're here. We're good.
They probably should have scanned for life signs like they do in every other episode, but they were like, nope, Spock said. So they show up and discover two things that they find really weird. One is that everybody is not just not dead from the radiation, but in perfect health, super perfect health.
Like they grew back tonsils that they didn't have health.
They're only growing enough food to sustain themselves instead of paving the whole planet and putting up a parking lot. Which they find really strange.
Yeah, they call it an agriculture colony, which got us to thinking, like, wait, so they're supposed to grow, like, wheat or something, and then, like, what are they going to do? Take a spaceship and send that wheat somewhere else? I mean, that just does not seem very efficient to us, but,
Does not seem like a practical plan given how spaceflight is depicted in this show.
Right.
Also, the plan would have to be for them to be growing and exploring irradiated food.
It's
they already knew that the radiation was
of course
there.
they would be trying to be self-sufficient, and that's what it is. So that was weird. There's also no animals whatsoever.
Right.
These are vegetarians, and there are no insects even, which begs the question of how these plants are growing without bees.
There's this woman
Oh yeah.
who is always in soft focus. That's her
Yeah.
superpower. And Spock recognizes her, and she recognizes him, and there's like that prolonged glance and stirring music that the show always uses to indicate that these two are old flames, except of course Spock is completely expressionless when it cuts to him. It's kind of funny.
Oh, you can see like a twinkle in his eye, I think.
But then she takes him to see a plant.
And then the plant squirts glitter at him. He got glitter bombed by a plant.
Glitter bombed by a plant. And she's surprised to discover that this psychoactive thing has a different effect on the different species that Spock is than it did on humans. And he's briefly racked with pain, but then he gets into he has the effect that she expected it to have, which is, I really just want to say antidepressant. Because it's like, she describes its effects beforehand, I think, and Spock says, as a scientist, that's a happy pill, and as a scientist, you should know that happy pills are impossible. So it's like they're going for some technology that didn't exist yet, except for it's a psychoactive drug.
Yeah, I mean, we basically see Spock get stoned, but in a way where he's still pretty much part of reality. He just is able to love. He's able to be happy.
He immediately kisses her.
They like are together, like bam, right away. And just sort of like have a lot of shots of them like caressing each other's hair and lying on a picnic like blanket and
Seeing shapes in the clouds.
looking at rainbows and
There's that whole thing about
clouds.
unweaving the rainbow from Keats.
It's all very beautiful. And so slowly, bit by bit, everybody starts sort of falling under the spell of the glitter spores of this plant. And except for Kirk, Kirk, for some reason, is a jerk. Kirk the jerk all the time. Everybody else is like, oh, peace, love, happiness, it's all good. And Kirk is like,
completely unaffected.
what is going on? And he's very, like, just sort of annoyed. Clearly, this is sort of some sort of reference to, you know, like the hippies and Back to the Land and all these sort of things. They're all kind of being like, just join us. Like, we're like, are you with us? Are you with us, man? Kind of thing. And we have this dynamic going of Kirk being sort of alone on this ship, wanting to be ambitious and somewhat miserable all the time, and everybody else just kind of wants to have a good time. Kirk manages to realize that if he gets everyone angry and upset, that the glitter kind of falls by the wayside and suddenly they're back to their normal selves. And, you know, so he does that and he makes everyone unhappy with the help of Spock eventually. And Spock basically says, like, that was the only time he's ever felt like love and happiness, and oh well, the end.
Back to what he calls his self-made purgatory.
Yeah, self-made purgatory. It's like a really touching scene with him and that girl where they say goodbye. It's like totally clear that they still love each other, but that, you know, Spock is too Spocky to express it. It's really quite painful in some ways, and like brings up a lot of good questions of like, what is the goal of mankind? I'm personally on team self-sustaining and happy and peaceful. I would totally vote that over exploring the stars. As much as I love, you know, Cosmos, which everyone should also be watching right now, perhaps more than Star Trek. I feel like the best of both worlds is somewhere actually attainable, but that if you can find a happy flower that makes everyone peaceful, what? You've discovered world peace in the form of a flower that will let you live on a planet that would like otherwise not be habitable. And will literally give you like health and immortality for the rest of your life. All you have to do is like
immortality for the rest of your life.
All you have to do is give up conflict, and you can live forever, and be happy forever, and be in love forever. Wouldn't you choose that flower? Like, I understand that no one here really made a choice and that the flower sort of sprung out at people, but I think if people were given a choice, I hope that we would choose a flower. And Kirk is kind of just as much of a jerk in this episode than the flower, because he doesn't really allow people a choice. He doesn't like let them think about it. He's just kind of like, now I'm gonna make you really upset so you can't be happy anymore. What do you vote?
It's, as Spock says, while anybody out there is suffering, then we all have to suffer. If human culture, human evolution in the like biological and cultural sense stopped, if humans just went away, then there would be all over Earth intelligent animals eating other intelligent animals alive all the time. That would be just the state of the planet. Is this constant background level of unimaginable suffering by creatures that we would empathize with. So, yeah, we have to attain godlike power and take over the world. There really is no moral alternative.
What are you talking about? We eat animals in very inhumane ways all the time.
Yeah, that's not great either.
So if you could choose a life where you were happy and you did not harm a damned thing versus a life where you probably are harming things all the time and like could potentially help others but would be miserable all the time. Like, I think about this in terms of activism as well. It's like there are people who are like actively resisting and fighting and like and sort of attacking what's bad in the world, but as a process of doing that they have to sort of like also like accept and be a part of the world to some degree. And then there are people who are like trying to build a new world through like intentional communities and eco villages, one of which we are going to soon.
As much as I hate to say it, at the end of the day, I'm on Team Kirk, and well, Team everybody else. This episode illustrates maybe more clearly than most how much the Odyssey is stamped into the DNA of like Western civilization in general and science fiction, Western science fiction in particular. So the Odyssey is basically the first science fiction novel. The Iliad is maybe the first fantasy novel. It's like it reads like kind of like Tolkien. But the Odyssey is about a headstrong man who claims to care for his crew, but really is slowly getting them all killed. Who sails around and has a bunch of adventures that are plausible to the ancient Greek audience because they take place in other lands, and other lands might have witches and giants and so on. And in one of his more famous adventures is where they land in the land of the Lotus Eaters, which is a place where they have a magic flower that makes everybody happy. And many of his crewmen eat the flower and then decide to desert. And he realizes that he can't get home without them. That he remains immune to the effects of the lotus, either because he doesn't eat it or because his will to go home, his dedication to his, in this case, very selfish mission is too strong. So he drags his crewmen back to the ship. Refuses to let them stay in this place where they'll be happy. And that's still clearly a powerful story that like resonates with us. And kind of, even though it's like a violent reaction to this, to members of his crew finding happiness, it still somehow feels like the right thing to do. And we miss like all of the alternatives you're talking about, like finding a way of cultivating.
It does not feel like the right thing to do at all. Like they end the episode in this like the same roll credits like happy upbeat thing as Spock is there basically saying like it was the only time he's ever been happy in his life.
Not basically, literally. That's what he says.
Literally, and you're like maybe Kirk, whatever. Like if Kirk wants to explore the stars to the point where he's resisting these spores like so actively, then Kirk should go and be Kirk. Kirk the jerk can go off and do his thing. I want more people on Team Peaceful, Happy Forever, but I will respect and love people on Kirk the jerk's team, even if he's wrong. You should go watch it and comment and tell us which side you're on, dear viewer.
Kirk does look very like betrayed and jilted when Spock.
This is really why Kirk becomes the jerk. It's because he is so. That's why he's able to resist the spores.
Because
he's angry because he loves Spock, and Spock has found a girl. Finally, he's found a girl, and he. Oh, this explains everything. Well, now Kirk is not such a jerk. He's just in love. He's in love.
So you're now willing to forgive him when his motive is forcing the person he's in love with away from the person he's in love with and forcing him to be unhappy with him rather than happy with someone else. But when the motive was the betterment of the human race, you're against it.
Well, I don't think it's a good choice, but I empathize.